are you?
I'm doing okay. It's been a long week. I'm just exhausted with work. I've had a few things happen this week at work that have just been so overwhelming. I just feel, I don't want to say underappreciated, but just disrespected a lot. I have two coworkers, Hannah and Ashley, and they've worked together before. And at first I just worked with Ashley, and we had a counselor position open up, and Ashley recommended that Hannah would join our team, and Hannah was hired. And since then, it's often felt like they gang up against me. And I'm a very firm counselor, and there's a joke that I'm the mean counselor. And so in professional meetings in front of my supervisor, Ashley and Hannah have made jabs of me being a mean counselor, where it's just been very undercutting. So much so that my supervisor has told me when we've met for supervision that I can tell them to just stop. And it did for a while. But I just feel left out. Like at lunch, Hannah and Ashley will be talking, and if I don't say anything, then they'll try to include me. But if I start to share about my life or what's going on with me, I just get these weird looks of like, why are you talking right now? Or just, I don't have that warm reception all the time. And it's just made me not even want to be around them and just be like a super good counselor just to like show them up. But I feel like some of the clients have picked up on it as well, where they're saying, Hannah and Ashley are a lot different than you. They seem kind of rude. You seem really sweet, like you seem like a really good counselor. So I'm kind of in a position where I love my job, but this has caused some conflict for me. That's emotional on top of working with people all day, helping people. So I'm not really sure what I can do.
Right. Sounds like, you have a lot going on, and that not only are you happy at your job, but there's some people there who are making you unhappy and, giving you these emotional feelings that you weren't prepared for and kind of making you feel not appreciated and kind of out of the loop, which is making you want to recoil and not like your job.
Yeah, I feel very slighted. It's a humor that is it makes me feel slighted, where it will be like, oh, you're the mean counselor, and it just feels
like an offhanded joke that,
and there was a few weeks ago where I was sick with the flu, and so I called out on a Friday, and Hannah had ended up blocking out time where she wasn't going to be there, so Ashley ended up being the only counselor on staff for a few hours that afternoon. And when I came back on Monday, there were so many comments made about being pissed that I wasn't there. And Hannah said, if you call out one more time, I might have to kill you. Wow. And Angela was Ashley was very cold towards me and just was treating me very differently. And later said in front of my boss, I'm still a little salty about you being gone last Friday. And at that point, it happened like a week or 2 weeks ago. So for me, I've just been frustrated of when is this going to stop? Right. And it sucks because before this started happening, I felt like we had a really great team going, where it wasn't catty and it wasn't like, oh, I'm better than you. And it's starting to feel that way a little bit, where I'm viewed as being the young flu counselor, I guess you could say. But it's also made me not trust either of them, if that makes sense.
Yeah, so it sounds like you want to trust them because there was a relationship in the past that you had a strong bond with that has now kind of been undermined because of some catty calls and some things that now the patients are starting to pick up on. Mm-hmm. So what would you see in the future? How would you like this to work out if, something could happen? How would you like it to work out?
Well, I've thought about talking to my my supervisor about it, but at the same time, I don't want to seem catty by
Right.
bringing it up to him. But I guess what I would just like to see change is like that catty, like undercutting,
Right.
jab kind of stuff. Just stop.
Right.
Because I've never done anything like that to either of them.
Mm-hmm.
So when it happens to me, it's kind of like, I don't deserve that.
Right.
Where is that coming from? So that's basically the one big thing I'd like to see change, and just not feeling excluded.
Right.
And I feel like my supervisor has really picked up on that. He started doing this thing this week where there's like an office in the middle of our treatment center that has a big window, and it has like a glass door where clients can see in. And so we're doing like a community council meeting for 15 minutes every morning. So we give the appearance of working together as a team in front of the clients. So their behavior improves and that they know that we're working together and we're all in the loop with each other.
Does that feel fake to you when it's going on?
Very much so. And I feel like I'm sitting there and I feel this tension, and then my boss is there, and I feel like I'm looking at my boss like, clearly you have to see what's happening. Because they'll be cordial, but they're not always very professional.
Right.
And I've seen this happen in other ways too, where they say things to my boss that I'm like, I would never say that. I would never complain about my job to my boss, or like in front of my boss, or just make jabs even in front of my supervisor.
Right.
So I know that on some hand, my supervisor does have to be somewhat aware of what's going on.
Right. It sounds like you really feel that you're being like left out. Like,
yes,
even with the two girls, it sounds like you're being left out with them, but you're also being left out by your boss not picking up on it more. And you really want him to speak up for you because they're not listening to you speaking up for yourself. Is there anything that you could say to them that would nip it in the bud, or that you feel would that create more of a problem?
Well, I don't know how they would take it if I was very direct, because a lot of my personality is I'm very like, hi, how are you? Like, oh yeah, and I'll crack jokes. I use humor a lot. So it would be very abnormal. It'd be out of character for me to say, stop it, enough already. That I feel like it would almost stun them, which makes me uncomfortable. I don't do well with confrontation or conflict. So what I've tried to do before in the past is when they're being very cutting with humor, I'll kind of make a joke of like if Hannah says, oh, well, get out of the way, like you're in front of the microwave, I'll be like, huh, you're being like a demon, you've been in front of us for like 30 minutes. And we'll laugh, and she'll take her time and she'll do whatever she needs to do. So I've tried to use humor to deflect some of it.
Right.
But I also feel like that just kind of encourages the behavior to keep happening.
Right.
Because I haven't set a boundary of like, it's not okay the way that you're talking to me, stop it.
And it sounds like, this is really affecting you. Is it starting to affect you outside of work as well?
I feel like it makes me, when I've tried to set boundaries outside of work, they haven't always been respected. So this just kind of feels like it's one more area where that boundary isn't being respected.
Okay.
And it almost makes me feel like, gosh, I can't do anything right.
Right.
I call out sick 3 weeks ago, and I'm still being up for it.
That sounds hard.
Yeah.
That sounds like, they're not respecting you at work or when you're not even at work. So it sounds like you need to let them know what the boundaries are again, and to see how they react to that. And if it's something that you feel that they're not going to respect, it is something that you need to say, okay, how can I reassess it with them? Maybe something that they will understand. Is there a way that you guys joke that they know it's a more serious conversation?
Like I said, I've tried to use humor to deflect before, where it's like, well, you're not perfect either, almost is like the underlying message of that, of like, well, okay, like we all make mistakes, we all drop the ball on things. Tried to use humor before, but I'm almost scared to set boundaries with them. I tend to be a people pleaser.
Right. That feeling right there, you're very, very, you're scared. What about it is scaring you? Why don't you want to set these boundaries?
Well, Ashley's very intimidating. Even at work, she'll cuss a lot. She's been known to be the counselor who plays favorites with clients. She's very unprofessional, very blah, 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 very blunt. And she doesn't always do a good job of hiding her emotions on her face.
Right.
So there have even been times where I'm with her and a client. If she doesn't like the client, everybody knows it. So she's just a very in-your-face personality, and that for me, it scares me to know
right.
what she would respond, because there's already been so many cutting responses,
Right.
and I'm scared if I set a boundary, she's just gonna whiplash me, and it's gonna really hurt.
Right.
That makes sense.
Yeah, sure. And it sounds like that is scary. It is something that you have to proceed with caution, because you already have a lot on your plate, and you don't need to add her whiplashing you to your plate even more.
Right.
What can you do, maybe so in the next few meetings when we talk, to kind of get yourself out of the situation, and kind of avoiding them, letting it roll off your back? Are there any ways you can?
Well, I found that when I try to just remove myself from the situation or avoid them, it just makes me feel more alone, so I don't think that that's really working.
Yeah.
I think that maybe because my supervisor has said something to me before of hey, I've picked up your colleagues have joked about this, and it's okay to say, knock it off. That kind of opened the door that maybe Tim would be a safe person to go to talk to about this.
And it's nice to have that safe person to talk to. It sounds like you felt like you had that, whereas maybe a few weeks ago when you didn't have that, it was a little more alone. Reaching out to him and saying, all right, it's kind of gotten worse. Do you think you could see yourself being happier at work if you felt like you had his support more?
Yes. And I think I'm almost scared too to not have that support.
Right.
Like I said, I don't want to appear catty if I go
Right.
to my supervisor and saying, oh, they're picking on me.
Right.
Or being gossipy. If that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, let's go ahead and try to work on that for next week.
Okay.
And hopefully we can talk about it a little more in our next few sessions.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you. It was good seeing you again.